Hey y'all, this is Amber and welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about Love is Blind Season 5, Episode 2. And oh my god, what a whirlwind. First of all, I just want to say thank you to any returning viewers who are currently watching this video. I really appreciate your continued support. If this is your first time tuning into my channel, welcome. I am recapping Love is Blind. I also recap other reality TV shows or will be. This is episode 2. So if you haven't watched episode 1, make sure you go ahead and check that out. I have a playlist on my channel that is dedicated to Love is Blind. So please go check that out if you want. And let's just get right into the recap. So the first thing that we see is just interpersonal relationships amongst the women, amongst the men. It's really sweet. You get to know the characters more, but we're here for the drama, right? We're here for the drama. If you want to see all the cute little moments, you can go ahead and tune into the show. The first date we have is between Lydia and Milton. They're having like some sort of beach themed date. I mean, it's cute. Lydia's like, ooh, open the cooler. She doesn't call it a cooler at first, but she does end up calling it a cooler. And Milton's like literally almost touching it with his right hand. He's like, I don't see it. I mean, what is that? Milton, come on. You said you're an engineer. Okay. Eventually they get into the good stuff. He's like, so like, have you been feeling lately? Are you good? And she's like, no, I am not good. She is honest with him, and she's like, my number one guy, who is Izzy, basically cut things off with her, and it blindsided her. So she's very hurt by that. They both agree that they haven't been vulnerable with each other, and they agree to start doing that right now. Lydia is crying, and she tells him, like, I just want to be loved for who I am. And Milton assures her that she's worthy of love, and he tells her that she's his strongest connection, and it makes her really happy. He says, I think you're going to be a great mother. Okay. Based on what? He admires the fact that she's openly emotional, and he's like, can I have any pointers, any tips for me, girl? And she's like, you gotta basically not care what people think about you and love yourself a lot. And Milton says, I pretend that I do those things, but in all actuality, I don't actually do that. I don't feel that way. Milton tells Lydia a little bit about his past, and he says that I lived in Japan for a while. That is the second person on this cast who has lived in Japan for multiple years, which I find very interesting. He said that while he was in Japan, he didn't do well at school, and it really messed with his self-esteem. But then around high school, he moved back to the United States, and he really started to improve his grades, so much so that he got his associate's degree when he was still in high school. I mean, what a smarty pants right there. He goes on to explain that he is another man who is extremely emotionally repressed. And I just want to pause for a second. We need to start raising our sons to be vulnerable and open with their feelings, because as we see time and time again, men who are not able to be emotional as boys grow up to have a lot of issues when they get older. So let's stop being so hard on the boys when they cry. Let them talk about their feelings and let them be who they are. That way they don't grow up to be little shitheads. Thank you. Milton goes on to say that this experience is really helping him grow, and that Lydia in particular is helping him grow as a human being. And she's honest with him. She appreciates his efforts, and was really hung up on the age gap, but she's trying to be more open about it. He's like, do you think that you could end up marrying me? And she's like, yesterday, not so much, but today, yeah. And I'm like, girl, the only reason that you're considering it now is because you got dropped like a sack of potatoes yesterday by Izzy. So I don't know how much I actually believe her. I think that she's not going to get over the age gap. I mean, how could she? It's always going to be there, but maybe she can. I mean, maybe I'll eat my own words later on in the season, but I don't know. The next date that we see is between Taylor and JP. Taylor asks JP about his childhood. he starts tearing up immediately. He said his mom was emotionally abusive towards his sisters, and that she'd leave for work, and after she left he would go in and like comfort them, but it was still really traumatizing to be in that environment. Taylor asks, why do you think your mom acted like that? And JP mentions that, well, her and my dad's relationship wasn't that good, and also she was trying to control basically what my sisters were doing, and that way that they didn't end up like her. I mean, okay. He said his mom is better now, and that he thinks that she's changed, but it still hurts him to think about what had happened in the past. He says it's nice to open up to somebody, and that he's never been comfortable doing that with anyone that he's been with, only with her, basically. He's like, so what would you most regret not saying to somebody? And she's like, telling them that I love you. And I don't know, I thought this was like weird. Like, I guess obviously he was talking about himself, but I thought it was like a general question, and so I thought she answered in a general way, but maybe it was more pointed to him. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird about it. But then he's like, I love you too. So that's the first time they tell each other that they love each other. Whether or not Taylor meant that initial I love you, I don't really know, but okay. And I mean, this relationship is really fast. My husband's watching it right now, and he's like, they are so ridiculous. There's no way they're in love with each other already. But I don't know, I feel like me and him fell in love really fast. So, and they're literally spending so much time together. Like, I'm pretty sure I've read other I know I've read other blurbs, like experiences for people who are on Love is Blind, and they're literally talking for hours. And you know, when you think about it in the real world, you know, you go text them for like an hour, and then you see them hang out for maybe like 2 hours, and then next week you text them, and then blah blah blah, you know. So it's a lot more accelerated, obviously, in the pods. So I think it makes sense that people do fall in love. I mean, think about last season with Brendan and God, what's her name? I'll put their picture right. Oh, I'll put their picture right there.
So, if you're seeing this, a tragedy has occurred. An absolute tragedy. I filmed this whole episode without hitting record. So this is my second time recording this exact thing. So hopefully that means it's going to be better than when I initially did it. But I am like exhausted. Like, I worked overtime today, and all I wanted to do is come home, make a video, because I already took notes. So it was going to be like an easy Saturday for me, but no easy Saturday for me. Damn it. Uche and Aaliyah, they talk. Aaliyah's basically saying like, hey, like, you know, when I feel like I opened up to you, you came out with me with judgment, and I don't want to be with somebody who's going to hold my mistakes against me. And Uche apologizes genuinely, and he says that, you know, that's not what I intended to do. I think I was just really shocked. He understands that everyone makes mistakes in their past, and he asks, well, if we get engaged, you think we won't have another disagreement like this? And she's like, well, yeah, of course we would. And he goes, okay, well, I reacted very poorly, and because I have trust issues from my past. He takes ownership of his reaction, and he says it was definitely his mistake, which is a very hard thing to do, especially when humans in general are very motivated to avoid things because it will bring them shame. So I am glad that he's owning his mistake. He tells her that her sharing this information with him was actually a good thing. He says that he really wants people to trust him. So in order to do that, he's going to have to create a safe space for them, so people feel comfortable then telling him the truth about whatever. And so he says, I accept you for who you are, and I'm falling for you. And she accepts his apology and says that she forgives him, but her face doesn't really match with what she's saying. So I don't know. I'm hoping that they can get over this hump and maybe explore it more when they're together officially. So anywho, Izzy and Stacy, like, they're playing mini golf together. Stacy is like, yeah, I have lots of fun with Izzy. I'm really into him. And she goes, games keep you young, and so does Botox. Okay, girl. I agree, honestly. So then Izzy tells Stacy, like, it's really fun, like, being with you, and they have really flirty sexual chemistry. And he's like, you have a hot voice, girl. I think about you naked. I'm just like, oh my god, you guys do it already and shut up about it. Izzy also tells her, like, I know that with you, I don't have to worry about finances. I don't have to worry about emotional stability, but it does concern me that you haven't been very vulnerable with me. And she looks kind of like, what the fuck? And she's like, look, like, I want to spend my life with somebody having fun, and like, we can talk about all that mushy gushy shit later, but like, I just want to have fun. And Izzy does not look satisfied with this. Like, he doesn't. I think he really needs her to be more vulnerable. And she's not really giving that to him. And I don't really understand why she wouldn't want to be vulnerable with somebody. When you spend your life with somebody, it's not always going to be 100% great, especially when you start adding more responsibilities onto y'all's plate. Like when you guys get a house together, if you guys combine finances, if not, if you guys have children, that's another huge stressor in relationships. So it's really important to make sure that you guys know each other very deeply, know each other's character, know that you're always going to have each other's back. And part of discovering that type of thing is being vulnerable with somebody. And if you can't even do that, how are you going to get through the hard things together? Ugh. So I don't really understand her perspective, but Izzy is obviously very conflicted between Stacy and Johnny. Chris has a confessional, and he's literally so obsessed with Johnny. He has nothing but good things to say about her. And this is the kind of man that you want, Johnny. The kind of man who's obsessed with you, who has not a bad thing to say about you, who respects you, and who is kind. That's the kind of man that you want. That's the kind of man I have. It's been the best experience of my life. I've been with other men who are not like that. And let me tell you, it might be fun for a minute, but it's not fun for that long. So Chris and Johnny, they are going on a date. It's really cute. They're very giggly and sweet together. Chris said that he loves board game night with his family, and Johnny is gonna fit right in. He knows that. And Johnny's like, hell yeah, I want to be a part of that. Johnny mentioned she has problems finding a partner that's funny, fun, yet sensitive and responsible. Chris tells Johnny, look, you literally check all my boxes. You make me smile so much. I'm envisioning a future with you, and it comes easy to me. And I'm in love with you. And she is like, yeah, I can picture a future with you too. And in a confessional, she says, I really like Chris, and it would make sense. Him and I being together, it would make sense, and it would be easy. But I have a 5th grade crush on Izzy. So the next scene is Johnny and Izzy, and they're talking, and Johnny mentions things about his past, that he was a Jehovah's Witness. He never celebrated holidays and birthdays, and because of this, he had to be removed from class anytime they were showing anything, like any movies, like holiday movies or anything like that. And he says he had a really traumatizing experience one time when he was asked to be a part of a neighborhood like Easter egg hunt. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll join. And his dad caught him, and he really got chastised about that. And so because of this, he was like, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this shit no more. So he went to his cousin's house, and he was venting all of this stuff to his cousin. And then his cousin's like, you know that's not your real dad, right? And that completely shattered Izzy's life, basically. And it really traumatized him. He said that he's not a Jehovah's Witness anymore, luckily, and that he got his first Christmas tree in 2018, and he kept it up for 4 months, which is way too long, Izzy. Come on now. I mean, granted, I have definitely kept my Christmas tree up until February 1st, but that's beside the point. Till April, that's obscene. So Izzy tells Johnny, I'm really into you, and I want you to go all in with other guys. That way, if you choose me at the end, I'll know that it's really a genuine choice and connection. He asks Johnny, do you see yourself with me? And she says, well, I did go on another date, And me and that guy get along a lot, but it's more like friendship. So that's weird. That's not what she said earlier. Interesting that her opinion literally changed from like one date to the next date. I don't know. Interesting. But okay. She basically is like, okay, I choose you, Izzy. And he's like, woo, you know, so that's cool, I guess. We then get our first proposal. And of course, like I said, it's between Taylor and JP. They're both just like gushing over each other. They love each other so much. And in his speech, she's perfect. She's amazing. He's crying. She's like dressed up all cute. So I'm guessing that she knew that she was going to get proposed to because she's dressed really fancy. And then, you know, he proposes, she says yes. And then when she leaves the pod, all of the girls are right there and they're like, woo, like cheering for her, you know. So obviously she knew. It was sweet, it was cute, whatever. Johnny and Chris, they go on a date, and Johnny immediately informs Chris like, hey, I know we're really great together. I do see a future with you, but when it comes to my emotional connections, I have stronger connections with somebody else. And Chris is really being a good sport about it. You know, Johnny's like, I'm really sorry. And Chris is like, don't be sorry. Like, you're a great girl. Thank you. And, you know, he has some grace about the whole situation, and he wishes her well. And I really feel bad for Chris in this moment. He's just such a sweet guy, and Johnny should be with him, in my opinion. I like the nice guys. I think the nice guys are a lot better to be with. And, you know, not saying that Izzy isn't nice. He's just kind of exhibiting weird behavior. Plus, he's got two options, you know, and you are potentially not the top option. Whereas Chris, you're his only option. He told her this last date, you know, that basically like she is top. So I don't know. Okay. But that's her choice. That's her life, you know. What? Okay. Johnny and Izzy, they go on a date, and she tells him that she cut things off with her number 2. And she admits that he was the safe option, but I have more feelings for you, Izzy, and that's why you're my only option anymore. Izzy said that he's scared, but he thinks that she will reject him when she sees him because of his looks. And I'm like, Izzy, you're a handsome guy. Johnny, you're a handsome girl. You guys don't be nervous to show each other who you are. The least interesting thing about both of you is the way that you look. I promise. Like, and that's how your significant other should feel about you too. Johnny tells this story about something that happened 7 years ago when she was married. Basically, she got a message on something saying that her ex died, and her ex is like the only man that she considers that she ever really loved. And it was really hard for her going through that. And Izzy reacts very strangely. He's basically just like, you should have been telling me this like while we've been talking. And he's kind of being silent, and she clocks it immediately, like, what's going on? And he's just like, I don't know, like, obviously, like, he's changing his opinion about her. And that he's saying that, am I ever gonna be another guy that you love fully? And she's like, yeah, well, I told you this story because like I want to make sure that the next person I love, or the next person I'm fully committed to, I fully love, and I'm telling you, I'm falling for you. I don't know, he's not really buying it. And she's just like, okay, like, we need to talk about this. He's not really talking about it. And she's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna let you sit with this tonight, talk to me tomorrow. And she leaves, and Izzy's still there. He's got a blanket over his head. He's upset. And I don't know, I'm just so sick of emotionally immature men. I don't like when you have to drag something out of somebody, like their true actual feelings. I feel like in a good relationship, you should be able to express your feelings, whatever they are, in whatever state that you're in, and you should be able to work through it together, and you should be able to, you know, empathize with each other and come to an understanding. And if that's not going to happen, then maybe you shouldn't be together. And that's what is kind of, I think, is happening right now in front of our eyes. Johnny goes back to the women's quarters, she mentions that she's feeling like Chris at this point cares about her more than Izzy does, and she's questioning if she made the right choice in letting Chris go. And she says that Izzy is acting really skittish, and if he can't deal with this issue and he chooses Stacy, he knows that he's going to regret it in the long run. So she's kind of just letting him make his own choice and just sticking with it. So the next day in the women's quarters, Taylor and someone named Renee, we've gotten her name like a couple of times and like her age. And you know, I know she's going on dates, but we haven't really seen anything from her. So I'm curious if she's not going to be in a future episode. But anyway, so they're practicing doing the reveal to each other. So Taylor's Taylor and Renee's acting like she's JP, and it's just silly and cute and fun. And then the time comes. JP's all dressed up. Taylor looks gorgeous. They get to the doors. Taylor's talking about how nervous she is. JP is like, I'm actually eager for this. I feel like it's freeing not knowing what she looks like and still loving her. So they're both at the doors. The doors are waiting to open, and then the episode ends. I hate that. I hate cliffhangers. They were much more impactful, in my opinion, where you only used to get one episode a week at a designated time, and you couldn't see the rerun until like tomorrow. But I mean, it's fine. I mean, right? It still is impactful because it makes you want to click on the next episode, but I digress. I mean, that's basically the end of the episode. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. If you would leave a like or comment, I would really appreciate that too. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be putting out this episode on Saturday, an episode on Sunday, and an episode on Monday. And on Monday's episode, I'll let you know if I do any more throughout the week in between when the chunks of Love is Blind episodes come out. But anyways, thanks for watching, and talk to you later. Peace.